Well, hello there. Welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back with another Bridgerton recap. My apologies that it is taking me so long to get these out, but I have been extremely busy and I have to make time for real life things first and then come to the fam. But I am here, better late than never, I say, with Bridgerton season 4, episode 6, The Passing Winter. This episode had me all over the place. I found myself being extremely annoyed with certain characters. Hello, Anthony. At some time, you're going to have to come to the stage and I'm going to have to address you, as well as some others that I was surprised to be irritated by. But we're going to go ahead and get into this. Like the video as it helps the channel. Hype me up and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I mean, after the way that the last episode ended, I am not surprised by the way that this episode began. We pick up the following morning with the lovebirds. These two are extremely reckless. We're going to call it like we see it here because they are laying in bed like they do not live in a time period where if they get caught, they're both going to be looked at crazy, but Sophie, out of all of them, is going to face the most ridicule. Y'all are laid up in this house like you guys are a married couple that are right. Did you lock the door? Did you make sure that the people had actually left the building? Like, this is very, very reckless. But they wake up together after their night of passion. Him thinking that after last night, everything has changed. Her thinking that she's still not going to be with him and that last night was a mistake. Now, she says that she promised herself that she would never do anything like this. And yet, here she is. He tells her that he loves her. Her major concern is that love isn't enough. And Sophie, here's the thing, I understand that this is different for her, that she is a woman, that she isn't from nobility, that she is the one who will face the most consequences. But I wonder sometimes what she's really thinking because she has all these rules for herself, yet she is finding herself caught up in what I'm calling love because that's what it seems like to me. So we go from this very beautiful moment with the two of them, even though they were reckless, and we go to her reality, which is that after a night of passion, that she may be pregnant. I don't know how we jumped here so quickly, but we're already talking about her possibly being with child because uh she doesn't really know. I'm not saying that it can't happen. It happens to a lot of virgins. I have a few friends that are virgins, and when they finally decided to have relations, they did indeed, even though some were on birth control, get pregnant. So it does happen. But I felt like we were talking about a lot of this, and it seems like her cycle wasn't that far away in the first place. And even if she did have her cycle, it does take time sometimes. There are people who have their cycle for a couple of months. There are people who even spot during their whole entire pregnancy. So there's a lot that she doesn't know. Um so she tells him that, she is going to go ahead and head to her room and get to work. And we see her as she goes to her room and she makes the note of 8 days. I'm guessing the 8 days is until her cycle. You guys, before I forget, there may be some things that I leave out that I didn't feel like really needed to be discussed. If there's something that I leave out that you want to talk about, feel free to put it down below in the comment section. So we go from there to two people that I have grown fond of, Penelope and Lady Danbury. Now, Penelope is meeting with Lady Danbury because she wants her help in figuring out how to get out of riding Whistledown. She wants to begin a new chapter, but Lady Danbury kind of points out that they really are going to have to think this through because she herself may not be able to get out of what she's trying to get out of, that it really does come down to whether or not the queen approves. I love me some Queen Charlotte, but Queen Charlotte needs something else to do. I understand that there's only so much that she can do, that it is a reminder of the life of a royal being hard and lonely, because it's not like, for whatever reason, she could just come out and mingle with society. The only time she gets to really mingle with them is if there's an event of some kind and she's invited. I don't understand why the queen doesn't take more rides in her carriage. I don't understand why she doesn't go out and promenade. Like, maybe, I'm asking a bit too much. It's beyond my understanding, but I feel like the queen is lonely. So go ahead and explore a little bit. So next we hear from our fave. Dearest gentle reader, there are moments in our lives when we arrive at a crossroads. We cannot run from it. We cannot go around. We must face it head on. This is when we see Lady Danbury introducing once again, the newest member of the court. The queen wants to know what's going on with the whole lady in silver. This is when Lady Mondridge lets it be known that it isn't her neighbor as she thought. And the queen wants to know if she thinks it's someone else. Now, we know that Alice is well aware that it could be someone else, because Alice witnessed Benedict and May go off in that room together. She heard them arguing. She saw the interaction. So she can really use this moment to elevate herself in the queen's eyes, right? Then we hear, and in choosing which path to walk, a course is set that may determine one's very fate. And that is when we see, to my delight, that Alice doesn't tell what she knows. I was so glad that Alice didn't do this, because we've seen other instances where people have kind of told some things. So I'm glad she didn't say anything, so that it could prove her loyalty to the Bridgertons, as well as, kind of prove something to the queen too, because there's another way where she could go about doing this rather than outing people, which may cause further damage. We then hear, just this week, I hear, the new Lord Penwood is fated to arrive at last in Mayfair with his bride. We see the new Lord Penwood step out. Very handsome man. I don't recall hearing much from him this entire episode. I hope that they expound upon his character. But their nuptials were so secretive, not even this author has found out the particulars. Now, the way that I started laughing when we finally saw who the new Lady Penwood was made absolutely no sense. We then hear, and they are not the only ones who have made a long awaited return. And that is when we see that the Viscount himself and his lady are back from India. And not only are they back from India, but they also have their newest heir, Edmund. Now, this is what I will say. Kate looks amazing. Anthony looks great too. That tan has really done something for him. But Anthony pissed me off so much in this episode that I feel like every time I see Anthony, I get pissed off all over again. So they are still recovering, as they just got back from being on a ship from India. All right. Anthony has to go, though. He has to go to Aubrey Hall, where his mother currently is. Oh, no, they're recovering at Aubrey Hall. He has to go in town to London, where his mother is, because she has requested his appearance. He doesn't know why, but he knows that he needs to be there. We later find out why. So while all that's going on, we have Benedict preparing for his exit, okay? Because he has decided what he wants to do. He is happy as he handles all this business. Like before, he was pushing this off and pushing this off, but now his valet is standing there and he's telling his valet, like, tell this person we are not going to do this, tell this person they need to do that. Like he is handling business. And not only is he handling business, but his valet notices how happy he is while he's handling the business. So we see him ask, in addition to the other things that I've requested of you, I need you to go ahead and write a letter to the Crabtrees, alerting them that I am preparing to have a full-time residency there. We know that that means something. We may not know all yet, but we know it means something. So he is being summoned to meet his mama, but he's ducking her. And part of the reason is because of the way he came at her, which I feel like was warranted, when they had the whole ball thing and she tried to tell him what he should and shouldn't be doing. So she is trying to figure out how on earth, when they've been so careful about this supposed tea time that they're having, that Benedict knew about Lord Anderson. He tells her, you know, the older kids may have an idea, but don't worry about the younger ones because they don't really seem to know about it. She's making it seem like she doesn't want to make this a thing. He doesn't either. He's really going with the flow of her. While we're on this subject of them, let's just go ahead and talk about it. I have not seen what is to come, but I am not buying what happens later on. I feel like he's very much more into her than she is into him. And I don't think that they're going to work out. Don't tell me any spoilers yet. I don't think that they're going to work out. So we later see that he doesn't want to push Violet. She felt away. She was even looking at him a little funny when they had the whole ball thing, but she felt away because she felt like, oh, you said you didn't want to have any attachments and all these things. But he tells her, like, look, I didn't want to have attachments because of you. I'm going at your pace. I understand that you're trying to be there for your kids. I understand that you're a great mom. I understand that I will never replace the love that you have for Edmund, as I understand that I think about my wife on a daily as well. But if you would allow me to be, I personally would be very fond of or love to be a part of you and your family. I want us to be able to be out in the open. I don't want to live this life of secrecy, and I want to marry you. And to that, she says yes. But as I said, I don't feel like it's going to work out because she has been ducking and dodging and doing different things. They could have approached this in a different way a long time ago. And it very much so seems to me like she holds the cards and he's just going with the flow. And I like Lady Bridgerton, but I want Lord Anderson to be with somebody who is really going to show up for him. Because I like, where are his kids? Are all his kids grown? Did they have any children? I don't remember. Put it down below. No spoilers though, but put it down below. So ever since Varley told the fake Lady Penwood that Sophie might be working at the Bridgerton house, she has been trying to get over there. And she ends up interrupting their tea time because she has showed up again at the house wanting to be called on. And he was like, after 3 times, you should go ahead and see her. I'll go ahead and go. She only wants to be there because she's trying to scope out the house. So she's allowed in. This is my thoughts. Armenta is rude as hell. Because you don't just pop up at people's houses. You allow them to come to you and ask you if you would like to come over. Y'all stay right next door. If they really wanted you over the house, they would have sent one of their footmen to ask you if you are available to come over. They could have sent a letter or something like we later saw Sophie do. So it's not making any sense that you just pop up over these people's house. But she's there to be nosy because she's breaking her neck to pay attention to the staff and see who's coming and going and who currently lives in the house and all these other things. Now, as I said, Lady Bridgerton has been ducking her left and right, but it's because she doesn't really care for her. So she just wants to get it over with. It is very, very awkward. We see the sisters, Rosamund and Posey, they're arguing back and forth. Eloise and Hyacinth, they're not really talking with each other because Hyacinth is still upset with Eloise. So Eloise is trying to find ways to get back in her sister's good graces. And I guess in observing them, they're seeing that it could be way worse, right? So Armenta continues to talk about things, and she's asking about Lady Bridgerton's staff. And she talks about the maid that she once had, the maid that stole from her and had aspirations above her station. The way that I would have been snitched on this lady, but I guess Sophie has not been able to do that because Sophie lives her life feeling like she is some secret, and like I feel bad for Sophie because Sophie has been let down, and I can't think of what I'm trying to say right now. I just feel like Sophie doesn't feel like she's good enough because her mother was a maid, when really Sophie's better than most of these so-called noble people that she encounters. So she's talking to Lady Bridgerton about how she should have turned her in to, the authorities. And she makes sure that she says her name was Sophie Beck as she waits to see a reaction from Lady Bridgerton. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Violet, you are someone who could be in my circle because you just allowed her to speak without having any reaction on your face whatsoever. That's something that I really, really need to work on. She doesn't end up getting anywhere with her because she doesn't let on that she knows who Sophie is or that Sophie is working for her. So Sophie is going about her business, doing her job, not realizing that Armenta or the girls are there. She walks into the drawing room and she sees her, and Sophie is shocked, like stunned. She looks to the right at Lady Bridgerton. She looks to the left at Posey. Now, Armenta and Posey, not Armenta, Rosamund and Posey got into it. So Rosamund can't see that Sophie is there, but Posey can. So Posey waits for her to walk off, and she starts choking to kind of like distract things. All right. So it distracts her enough for her to get out of there. And we see like that's it. I think that this allowed Violet to see that this is what she's having to deal with, because without knowing what she was doing, she revealed some things. So Violet decides to go up to Sophie's quarters. One thing about it is at the Bridgerton home, their staff reside in nice dwellings, nicer than we've seen at some of the other places, right? So she checks to see how she is, she says, after the almost encounter with her former employer, which lets her know, yeah, the gig is up. I know that you came from the Lady Penwood's house. So she tells her that she always found that Lady Penwood is unkind and her staff get the brunt of it, meaning, like, look, girl, I get it. So Sophie immediately explains that she worked without pay for Armenta for 7 years, and that the shoe clips, she did take them, but they weren't even diamonds. As far as Violet is concerned, she doesn't need an explanation. She believes Sophie. She's seen Sophie's work ethic, and she's seen good things out of Sophie in the short time that she's been with them. So she lets her know that she needs to be concerned, because with her now being next door, there's only a matter of time before she runs into her because she is looking for her. So the new job is really the best choice. It just goes to show you that this lady really has rubbed people the wrong way, while Sophie has done the complete opposite, because Sophie is loving and kind in all the things that Armenta will never be. So she gives her the letter of recommendation, and she basically wishes the best for her. So we go that from that to John. Now, John is concerned about his wife and his cousin getting along, but he is pleasantly surprised later on when Francesca comes to the breakfast table and she sits beside the cousin, and they are talking about how they were up till late at night and all these other things. And he is relieved. And you see him as he is just like happy to see them getting along and that they are now actually friends because they say it. We then watch as some of the family gathers at the Bridgerton home because Anthony has arrived. We find out that Violet asks Anthony to come to help her deal with Benedict. Like, this is the same son that you were fussing at for multiple seasons, but now you want his help to deal with Benedict, which I'm not saying Anthony hasn't changed. He's grown on me, but Anthony also pissed me off because he's not listening to her. So they go out for drinks. Colin is there, but Colin is oblivious as usual to everything that is going on, and he ends up walking off to get more drink. So they go out for drinks, and Anthony calls Benedict out for falling for Hyacinth's lady's maid, telling him how it's foolish that he has been taken away from his wife and his child to deal with this. Sir, take that up with your mother. Benedict didn't ask you to come there. Your mama did. So take it up with your mama. He tells him to end it. He tells him that going forward, this type of relationship could damage the prospects for their younger sisters, not to mention that he is signing himself and Sophie up for all types of ridicule and a hard life. Benedict is like, look, you're basically a hypocrite because you are willing to do the same thing with an opera singer. I said, thank you, Benedict, because unlike Anthony, Benedict actually has been trying to fight this. He has been trying not to fall for this girl, but he cares for her and he shows up for her in a way that we have never seen Benedict show up. Anthony, you were not in love with the opera singer. You were in lust. You enjoyed certain things with her. But we saw what love looked like for you when you got with Kate. And we are seeing the love with him and this girl. You should have had more of a discussion with your brother. I get it. Noblemen this and noblemen that. But with the way that Anthony acted out, the things that he's done, I honestly was surprised with the stance that he took with his brother. I get that even though he was a rake, Anthony was willing to do certain things to protect his family from scandal, like eventually even marry Edwina when he didn't even really like the girl. But he's acting like Benedict isn't trying to protect his family too. I would have thought that Anthony falling in love with Kate the way that he did would make him kind of understand how difficult this is for his brother to fight. Like, you were struggling with the love that you have for the girl too. But Benedict is not stupid, and he's thought about it. He says, I do not know my own mind. I am not capable of difficulty. Thank the devil you've returned. He's being sarcastic and with a new air, no less. Congratulations, by the way. And he leaves because Benedict don't need you to ridicule him right now. He's already done enough of that for himself. He's already struggling with all of this. You are not about to berate that man for falling in love. It is clear that there is something different about your brother. You said it yourself. His valet noticed it when he spoke about how happy he looked. Anthony, you noticed it when you mentioned the fact that normally he would be one of the first people who is done with his drink. And you mentioned how he isn't. And he's telling you that he's clear-headed, but you don't want to see that because it doesn't fall in line with your desires. So back at the Featherington household, Lady Featherington is missing Varley more than ever. Did they always have all this blue on their walls and stuff, or did they do more blue once Penelope got with Colin? Because I don't recall the house looking so nice, but it's looking really nice. Maybe I'm wrong. Y'all let me know down below. She's missing Varley because Varley not only knew how to run the household, but she provided them with all the details of the town, right? So Portia wants Penelope to get to it in revealing the identity of Lady Penwood. And she doesn't have to wait long because Lady Penwood actually pays them a visit. And Lady Penwood is Cressida. I didn't see this one coming. She apologizes to Penelope for the last season and for the ones before that, because we know that she blackmailed Penelope, she bullied her, she tossed drink on her. She did things. When I see things like this, it reminds me of how sometimes I may hold grudges because, in my opinion, Cressida did a lot. In my opinion, Cressida is one of the main reasons why Penelope can't even write the way she wants to anymore because people know who she is. But at the same point, if I'm being honest, towards the end of the episode, there was a little part of me that felt bad for this girl because I had to remember her living situation. So she claimed that she kept her identity a secret specifically for Whistledown. She wanted her to be able to have first dibs in revealing who she is. Now she wants to do some type of truce in hopes that she will come to her ball and write about it. Cressida really is bold. Penelope, as she points out, holds the power, and Cressida knows that she has to kind of depend on her as well as others to get back into society. So she begs her to reconsider. So we see Will, y'all, I'm terrible because I could have took a picture of him and Alice, but I just wanted a picture of Will. What a fine man. So Will watches as Alice is pacing back and forth. And he's like, you have been pacing back and forth all week. You know something. So she's like, yeah, I do know something. So he's like, tell it. She's like, I can't tell it because I I I I don't want to tell you, Will, and I don't want to tell the queen either, even though I know that this is something that the queen wants to know. So she's trying to figure out how to show up and how to do things because she can't be Lady Danbury. And there's things that she wants to say, but this and this. And he's like, look, girl, put your dukes up, throw some punches, and they do a little boxing exercise. And he basically tells her, like, you got to stop trying to figure out how to show up for the queen and just like do what you got to do. Don't wait to be called upon. Take your moment and do what needs to be done. And she thanks him as she actually, gets to throw a punch, and they're good to go. Benedict is serious about being with Sophie because we see Sophie. Oh, I didn't put the image in here. How dare I? We see Sophie. Sorry, I thought I took a picture of the image too. Whatever. She's lying in bed, y'all. And she looks beautiful as she's laying in bed, but she's kind of tossing and turning. And there's a knock at her door, and it's Benedict's valet, right? So she is taken to this beautiful area in this conservatory. And I don't know if he did the decor or if he got some help, but either way, it's feeling very romantic to me. This is what I love to see, people. I love the romance and I love the effort. And I feel like he thought this through as we see candles and the flowers that surround them. And he has a blanket or a cover up for her. So he gives Sophie the drawing of our cottage and tells her his plan, which is that they will live there and he will travel back and forth to be with society sometimes, but mainly be with her. He knows that it's not ideal, but he feels like something is better than nothing. While she is feeling like, look, you're going to miss your life and you're going to miss your family. And she's talking about how they barely know each other and all these other things. And we see what I feel like is a beautiful moment because he is very open and honest with her. And I respect and love the fact that he told her the truth because he talks about how frustrated he is by the rules of their society and how it tries to dictate who you can love. He then lets her know that he has been with both men and both women intimately. He emphasizes that and he waits for her reaction. And he says that I refuse to be ashamed about any of it. I said, okay, Benedict, much respect to you for being open and honest with her in a way that we haven't seen him be able to be open and honest with anyone else. So Sophie is listening to him. This is her as she listens to him talking, and she is hearing him, and she lets him know love is always a thing to be proud of. The world needs more of it. And I completely agree. He just wants to be able to love her and give her a life where she doesn't have to work so hard. Sophie does love him, but a part of Sophie feels like at some point he will change his mind. And if he changes his mind, and if they were to have a child, that child may be abandoned by him. He promises her he wouldn't do that. And she says promises are broken. Because as far as she's concerned, her father broke his promise when he said he would take care of her always, because after he passed, all of that stopped. So Benedict can't believe that she would think that he could be that heartless. And this is when she finally reveals the truth to him, which is that her mother was a maid and her father a nobleman, that she was illegitimate. And this is when we hear him say, like me. It's the first time that he realizes that their situation is similar to what she's had to experience because of who her father was and who her mother was. Her existence has been attached to shame. I absolutely hate the fact that children are made to feel this way because of the choices that the adults in their lives have made. I'm not just talking about in Bridgerton world, I'm talking about in life, period. I do not know how old Sophie is, but she was not allowed to refer to her father as her father in public. Imagine what that has done to her and the way that she views love, because the one person that really was supposed to love her was often ashamed of her. We got to call a thing a thing. He was. He might have loved his daughter, but he was ashamed, I should say, of the way that she was conceived. Because I can't imagine a life where my father wouldn't want to say, that's my daughter. So that is why I'm saying he was ashamed. Y'all can let me know if you feel differently. That's how I see it. It's okay if you feel differently. I just feel like even whether society wanted him to or not, like I can't see myself not saying, when I see my son, that's my son. Oh, who is that? That's that young man. No, that's my son. So he lets her know that he may not be able to marry her, but he will be bound to her in every way that counts. If they have a child, he'll be there for that child. That child will be loved. He just wants her to see that he is going to follow through with this and figure things out with his family. He asks for a chance to show that he's going to keep his promise. And we see them as they kiss. It is clear that these two really do love each other, but there's so many things when it comes to society that they're having to deal with. She returns to her room smiling and looking at the picture of the cottage, but then you see her facial expression change as she looks at the image on the calendar, the red, which I'm guessing is her cycle. We go from that to Queen Charlotte. Y'all, it's been said in the comments. I think Google a Monster pointed it out. I know some others have as well. One thing, let me go ahead and eliminate myself. One thing about the queen is always going to deliver with these looks. The hearts in the hair, the way that it sits upon her head, the curls, her design choices. She puts a lot into her look to just sit in this castle, in this mansion all day. So she is annoyed, all right? She cannot believe that Cressida would dare throw a ball and invite her after the crap that she pulled last season. She's holding the invitation where when you open it up, all these things flutter out. Some of it got on Brimsley. I was laughing. So he points out, like, she did try to see you, but she's not trying to hear all that, because the first stop should have been her before she even tried to do this. So She says if it was up to her, no one would be attending this ball. And this is when we see Alice ask if she may speak. So the queen is like, what you gotta say? So Alice suggests telling Lady Penwood that she's gonna attend the ball. Because what's gonna happen is Lady Penwood is going to be so excited about the fact that she's going to attend the ball that she's going to run her mouth and tell everybody that the queen is coming to the ball. But the queen is not going to show up to the ball. And with her not showing up to the ball, her absence will speak volumes. And that's what she does, which makes Alice feel like, yes, I made a move and she listened. So we go back to the Bridgerton household, and all of the Bridgerton ladies are under one roof. They catch up, they talk about the new Lady Penwood and whether or not they should go to this ball, because there's a big debate after the mess that she pulls. So Kate is like, I feel like we should. She points out the fact that when she was that young, she made many mistakes as well, or not that young, when she was younger, she made many mistakes as well. And as far as she's concerned, maybe she deserves another chance. And then she talks about how, maybe she's just being soft because motherhood has changed her. And that is when we see the baby come in. And the conversation as Edwin appears is changed, and we see Benedict as he looks on at this baby who is going to be the newest Viscount. Because now that Anthony has had a son, even though Benedict is the second child, it all goes to Anthony and his son. So he's watching, but he's not just watching how they're doting on this baby. He also sees Sophie at some point. So Lady Danbury comes, and she's wondering if he hasn't gone in yet because he's always been the spare, and now he has an infant that has replaced him. And he actually doesn't feel that way. He says, I I don't know what it is, but I do feel something for him. Now, he wasn't sure if it would be jealousy or envy or any of that stuff, but he says he's looking at the joy that his family has and how this baby has brought them together. And Lady Danbury reminds him that at some point his time will come. He then looks as if he's going to walk inside, but he sees Sophie, and he decides that he's going to tell Lady Danbury he forgot his present at his home, and he leaves. It's just a lot for him to think about, because he too, of course, is probably wondering whether or not Sophie is pregnant. But this is not anything he's been worried about before. So it's interesting how we're seeing a change in him right before our very eyes. So later on, Penelope arrives to talk to the queen, and she explains to the queen, because I'm leaving a part out. I didn't write this in my notes. Before she goes over here, she has a talk with Eloise about, the things that are going on. And they basically determined that, the queen herself is lonely. And a lot of what she gets comes from the gossip column, because she's not exposed to things living where she is, being kind of cut off from society. So Penelope says, the last time I was here, I spoke at length about feeling trapped by Whistledown, but it was thoughtless of me to say that to you, of all people, your majesty. So the queen isn't trying to hear that. She wants to know about the gossip. She wants to know about what is going on with Benedict. Y'all, once again, look at these outfits. Lady Danbury, and the way that she pulls off a hat with her beautiful facial features, the queen and the design in her hair, the flowers and butterflies and her dress. Chef's kiss. Oh, they deserve all the awards for their costume designs. They do such a good job. So Penelope stands before her, and Penelope says, I don't know what's going on with Benedict. Now that I am known publicly, I'm avoided like the plague by anyone with any real gossip, because for everyone in the town, Whistledown functions just as this place does for you. It keeps them trapped, watched, scrutinized. I said, wow. This place keeps them trapped, watched, and scrutinized. The queen is trapped, watched, and scrutinized on a regular. She says, I'm certain for you, Whistledown is one of your only ways of living in the outside world, because the life of a royal is lonely. We heard George say it in Queen Charlotte in their story. But knowing what it feels like to be so confined, would it not be pleasant to give society a reprieve, to allow them to simply live their lives the way they wish without fear? And they changed from that to the actual scene of the ball. And I just felt like that was so beautiful for Penelope to say. And I felt badly once again for Queen Charlotte, because Queen Charlotte lives a boring life. It's not even like she's living in this place and she's getting to enjoy her husband, because we don't know if he is in a state right now where he remembers her. So we go from that to everyone arriving at this pink ball. I'm calling it a pink ball because it's pink everywhere. All right. They are talking about how this is supposed to be in honor of the queen. But everyone is seeing that the queen is not here. Let's take a moment. Y'all, I had to take a picture of this. I don't know what they did to do this. I know that this is something edible, but do you see what I'm saying when I talk about the details and the designs and what they are putting forth on this show? This is the queen. Look at how that thing is sat up there with the hair and the bows and the way that looks. It's beautiful. It's a whole bunch of pink. I'm not really a pink person, even though I've been told pink looks good on me. But you know, it does what it needs to do, which is honoring the queen. So the queen proved her point. But Lady Penwood did a really good job with this decor. All right. So everybody is there, including Hyacinth, that is dressed up as a maid. Sophie and Eloise came up with this idea to dress her as a maid because, as Eloise pointed out, it would make her invisible to the people who only care about rank. And it's true, because we saw at some point where the Penwoods just thought she was a maid, or even possibly Sophie, not realizing it was one of Lady Bridgerton's kids. So Benedict arrives, and his mom hopes that this means that he's going to leave Sophie alone. And he's just trying to be there to show up more for his family, because he's kind of been distant. So we see them all at the ball, and then we see this beautiful moment with Francesca and John. They do something very similar to the first night, which is they're gazing at the stars as he pulls her in. And we know that before, for them, that moment was silent, but he says, this time I can't be silent. He tells her that she is perfect and she is exquisite, and he loves her deeply. And she says, I love you, John Sterling, always. And they kiss. There is something very, very, like, I knew something. It just, I kept getting this feeling in my stomach with the two of them. Boy, oh boy. All right. So just as people are talking about how humiliating this must be for Cressida, just as the tone is saying that the queen isn't coming, we see Cressida tapping on the glass to kind of distract them to speak and say something as she tells her husband. And then we see Penelope as she makes her move, because Penelope distributes copies of Whistledown's latest issue to everyone, and the footmen come in, filing them, ready to go. All right. You hear this beautiful voice once again, not my voice, but The narrator. Oh, she always does a great job. Dearest gentle reader, if there is anything that unites us all, it is our secrets. As the keeper of yours these past years, it is time at last for this author to tell you a few of her own. For one, I must tell you, reader, that I have felt a fondness for each and every person I have ever written about. There is a comfort in knowing that we are all human, all fallible, and all also capable of great change. And I come with the secret tonight of great change indeed. For tonight, I am resting my pen. This issue will be your, look at me. This issue you hold in your hands will be my last. I don't like this at all. Penelope, Featherington, Bridgerton, whatever you going by, girl, no. No, no, no. You are not allowed to stop writing because we don't need for Cressida or somebody else to come back in here trying to be you. Because what is Lady Whistledown without having Lady Whistledown? I get it. You want to write a book. That's great and everything. But come on, girl. I need this. I like Whistledown. So we see Cressida, and she's actually relieved because she's not going to have to write about tonight, which would have compounded her embarrassment. So you then hear, I thank you, each one of you, for your readership. Knowing you has been one of the greatest pleasures of my life. The people are shocked, and Colin is just proud of his wife. That's the end of that. So let's talk about Anthony and how he pissed me off, okay? Because Anthony is showing up like he's king of the ding dongs. I was going to say ding-a-ling. I don't think ding-a-ling is a bad word, but if it is, sorry for those of you who I may offend. He is acting like he's king of all of them, all right? Because after Benedict has been holding down things all this time, he comes to confront Benedict in his study, okay? Apparently, he pressured the valet, and the valet told him, I said the brat. The valet told him everything about the plans to move to my cottage, about Sophie, about it all. And he isn't okay with any of it. He claims to know that Benedict means well, but he tells him if he chooses a life with her, he will not stand for it. We see that as this conversation is being had, Sophie is standing outside the door listening to all of this. Sorry, this is so long. There was a lot in here I didn't want to miss out on. So she's standing outside listening. Anthony is not willing to risk how this is going to affect his family or the children that he may or may not have with Sophie, because those kids will be the ones shunned by society. The only thing that I agree about is the fact that the kids would suffer. I don't like the way he went about doing this. Some of you may disagree. That's fine. Let me know down below. So he says they're going to be casted out. He doesn't feel like Benedict thought about all of this, and he disagrees. Benedict says he did think about all of this, and he cannot walk away from her. To that, Anthony says he should cut his brother off and disown him. Sophie, by this time, is already gone. He's not going to do it, though, because he believes that his brother is going to make the right decision. The saddest thing is that as the eldest brother, Anthony does have the power to cut his little brother off. He can do that. So Sophie is done. We see her burn the cottage drawing, and then we see her address a letter for Alfie Burrow at Penwood House. We then jump to this scene with the queen. Look at her hair, y'all. Always styled up. Now, the queen is happy to hear that Penelope was able to upstage Lady Penwood. She tells her that she is looking forward to what she will write next, and she hopes that she'll bring her gossip from time to time, meaning that even though it's a little odd, Penelope and the queen have formed some type of friendship in all the times that she's been called upon. She then tells her that she may go. She then says, Lady Danbury. No words are exchanged. Between the instrumental that's playing in the background and the way that these actors act, their facials, the watering of the eyes, they're looking at one another. And we see a very tender moment between two friends, two dear friends, because she is basically finally telling Lady Danbury that she can go. And we see Lady Danbury as she stares back at a friend that is very dear to her, that she loves very much. And they have a moment, and she looks at her, realizing, because she doesn't get it at first, realizing what this moment means. And she tells her, thank you. Y'all, I don't know why, but I got a little teary eyed because I don't want Lady Danbury to be another Daphne where we don't see her anymore. I want it to be a thing where she does come into town. Maybe she's not as involved, but this is not a character that I want to see them get rid of. And I'm going to feel away if I don't see her next season. So she walks out, and we see that picture that we saw before with them when they were younger and she was on her court. We then jump to these two. Sophie and Benedict meet, and she lets him know that this is goodbye. She isn't with child. She has an interview at the Penwood home. He still wants her to stay. He wants to take care of her. He loves her. She tells him that she wanted love to be enough, but it isn't, not in the face of the world that they live in the established practices or a society that has lines that divide them. This very much so can go with what we're seeing in our current climate. And it's sad. I hate to see it. She doesn't want to fight. And she doesn't want him to lose such a wonderful family. She tells him that if she remains there, another mistake will happen. And he's like, please don't call it a mistake. So we see them in this embrace. They don't kiss here. They just embrace, and they put their foreheads together. And then she leaves. And he is standing there looking like he is ready to break down. And she goes back in the house, and she has a little breakdown moment of her own. She is crying. She is distraught. We then later see that Francesca and John and Michaela have spent an afternoon together finishing up this puzzle that she's been working on. John ends up getting a headache and decides to take a nap before dinner. He kisses her on the forehead, and then he watches off to the side as his cousin and his wife are getting along together, and he smiles. We then later see that she goes to wake him, and she checks on him and realizes that he is gone. And you hear her as she screams, and her scream can be heard throughout the entire household. And Michaela jumps up to run, and the last image we see is that of the Kilmartin household. You guys, I did not know that he was going to pass because I have not read these. And let me do this picture because you can see the both of them. I just feel so badly for her because I genuinely feel like she loves this man. And I feel like they were just getting to a place where they were finding their groove with one another. And here it is where she seems like she's genuinely happy, and she's starting to come out of her shell and figure out who she is. And now she is going to be, or she is, a widow because her husband, who she's only been with for all of a year, is now gone. I hate it for her. I do. But that is all I have. You guys let me know down below. Were you as upset with Anthony as I was? Because Anthony pissed me off. Anyways, that's all I have. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to try. Don't hold me to it because I got a lot of stuff that I got to record. I still have to do another chapter reading. I'm going to try to have another one of these out before the end of the week. Forgive me for the delay. I'm going to say that in advance just in case. I know that we like the pictures, so that's why I'm saying towards the end of the week, because sometimes it takes me a little bit of time to take the pictures and stuff. But either way, I'm willing to do it because it does help put, face to what we're talking about. And I've enjoyed it. Anyways, thank you guys so much. As I asked earlier, please like the video as it helps the channel. Subscribe because it helps me as well. And hype me up if you got one left in you. Until next time, peace.